Hi folks, Wooden Boat Dan here. Just wanted to give you a heads up. The podcast you're about to listen to was recorded several years ago, so some of the phone numbers, email addresses, website links, and time-sensitive information are no longer valid. Please keep that in mind as you listen. If you'd like to contact me, my email address is woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Hooked on Wooden Boats weekly podcast episode number 143. I am your host, Dan Matson, aka Wooden Boat Dan. If you can't do it, nobody can. Although there have been many attempts unsuccessfully. And this is the world's first podcast fully dedicated to celebrating the art, craft, history, tradition, and romance of wooden vessels around the world. Welcome to the show today, folks. I've got my window open. You might hear the rain in the background. Yes, it's late September in Washington State. The rains have started. Hopefully we'll get a little break in the weather here in the next couple of weeks before the long rainy season here. Helps keep the population down, though. However, if you're in the area on a nice sunny day, it does want to make you move here. So check it out when it's not sunny, okay? Anyway, today is going to be a short introduction and a short outroduction. I don't know if outroduction is officially a word, but anyway, I am leaving on a trip tomorrow for a few days, and I've got a lot to do tonight, and I've got a little cold going on, so I'm going to make this short and to the point. Today's featured segment is an interview with Josh Colvin. Josh is the co-editor of Small Craft Advisor magazine, friend of mine since about 3 years ago. Let's see, actually I met Josh about 2.5 years ago. Josh is the gentleman that came up with the idea for a small sailboat that could do a lot of stuff. Took those ideas to John Welsford of New Zealand, who's a boat designer, small boat designer, and together they came up with the SCAMP, and they had some help from Case Prints too, some modifications from Case. It's pronounced Case. So anyway, the SCAMP is the 11-foot 11-inch microcruising sailboat wonder, which I am currently planning on finishing mine here this winter, hopefully. So I did an interview with Josh this summer. We talked about the SCAMP that's been around now. I think it's possibly 4 years. It's either 3 or 4. Well, it's either 3 or 4. I had a great conversation about the boat and what's happening with it, how many have been built, and a lot of cool stuff. Hadn't talked to Josh for a while about the SCAMP, so stick around for that interview. I think you're going to enjoy it. If you'd like to subscribe to the podcast e-newsletter, you can go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe and get my monthly and sometimes bi-monthly newsletter, where I share tips and tricks and fun things with my audience. And if you would like to subscribe to the podcast, you can do that on iTunes. If you go to the podcast store, you can look for Hooked on Wooden Boats there, and you'll find me, and you can subscribe there. And the episodes, then you get notified when they're available to be published, or when they are published and available for download, which is typically every Thursday, although last week I was a day late. But it should be this Thursday, which would be October 2nd. Wow, it's October already. Can't believe it. So you can subscribe there. Okay, we're going to jump right into the interview with Josh. I hope you enjoy it. So take it away, Josh. Okay, it's July 19th, 2014. I'm at the Northwest Maritime Center with Josh Colvin. Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, good to see you again, Dan.
It's, I think your second or third time on here, so it's good to have you back. We're at the Pocket Yacht Palooza today. I think this is the third annual.
Third annual.
Yeah, there's a lot of boats and fun stuff, and you've got your SCAMP here and some things. So let's start with SCAMP, Josh.
Yeah, still
I'm
going.
kind of itching to talk about SCAMP. I haven't. Give me some updates on what's happening in the SCAMP world.
Yeah, it's continued to roll along, you know. I mean, I guess it surprised even us with how popular it's been. I guess about the fiberglass production version that Gig Harbor started doing, so that's rolling along. But the plans and kits continue to be popular, and it's getting kind of fun for us now because we're able to get multiple scamps on the water. And that's been neat. We've already had a couple of times now. I think we've had as many as 8 scamps together.
Oh, really? Here in Port Townsend area?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have another scamp camp coming up, Northwest School of Wood and Boat Building, partnering with the Maritime Center to host a scamp camp coming up here next month. Mm-hmm. And I think there's 5 boats slated to be built during that camp. And the first weekend of that scamp camp, I think it falls on the 16th and 17th, we're having our first Red Lantern Rally, we call it.
Okay.
Which will be the largest gathering of the fleet.
Really?
To date, yeah, and I'm expecting we might have a dozen or so boats, maybe a little more.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Where are you guys going to meet? Here in Port Townsend?
We decided to do it at the boat school down in Port Hadlock.
Okay.
Figured they have a ramp and a beach and good access there, and it'll be a chance for the people who are, building the boats at the camp to come down and visit the school and take a little tour. And
yeah. So what will you do during that rally?
Pretty informal. I think we've talked about some light racing. We might do a short cruise, maybe head over to Mystery Bay for a night.
Okay.
Play around on the beach a bit. So
couple days?
Yeah, it's going to be the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. August 16th and 17th.
That's right.
Cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
So I'm curious what sail number you're up to, or kit number, or whatever. How do you track it?
Yeah, I don't know it. I'm not exactly sure, but it's definitely 290s.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting close to the 300 mark now on total sale numbers. Mm-hmm. So it continues to be popular, and we've got a lot of good press lately with various things that have happened with scamps or photos here and there. So
yeah. So tell me about some of the press you've gotten lately.
Well, the Everglades Challenge. We had Marty Warline and his son Jamie completed the Everglades Challenge in a scamp. And they had fairly freshly built, so it was fairly new to them, but they tested a little bit and got the boat down there, entered the event, and just had a real strong finish. Ended up towing one of the boats in, another boat that had been damaged. They towed him in about 20 miles,
Really?
behind a scamp that was 2 reefed or 3 reefed by the end, and good strong wind. And
they towed it with sailing?
Yeah, sailed him in, and full 20-something miles, yeah.
Oh
so that was pretty spectacular, and it got a lot of attention. Yeah, not what we had intended for scamp. Yeah,
be a towboat, or it's a work boat.
Yeah, amazing.
It's a play boat.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was something that was interesting, and then I don't know what else has gone on lately, but there's still quite a bit of scamp fever. Lots of people planning different things, and we know Howard Rice is planning on a substantial trip in his scamp here probably this winter, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, he's building one especially for his trip.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. He's setting it up a little differently for his purposes, and but it's we're excited to see it. We had hoped to have it out here this winter, or this next Wood and Boat Festival, but I don't think it'll be here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make it.
Yeah. So is that still top secret? What he's going to do?
Yeah,
Josh?
I don't think it's been.
It's not public
yet. Yeah, but it should be soon.
I'm sure it'll be pretty amazing, whatever it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we don't want to leak that on Wood and Boat, so we could face some lawsuits and stuff. So have you been getting that on your scamp?
Yeah, quite a bit. I did. Just recently did the Texas 200, and I would love to have done it in a scamp, but it was I had to fly to Texas to make it doable, and so I ended up sailing in a puddle duck, which was different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking a lot about scamp during that trip, thinking what a perfect boat it would be for that particular event, being shallow water and lots of wind. And
have you done some overnight trips here in Puget Sound? Yeah,
done a few overnights on scamp, and makes a nice overnight boat. I'm working on a tent right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's been a few made. Several builders have added tents, but some of them have been a little too big, I think.
Oh.
You get caught up in the scamp has the right look for it, and you end up putting a tent up, over the boom or quite a bit higher than the boom in some cases. And a few people have made tents like that, and I think when they get out and actually get a lot of wind and at anchor, they notice it's putting up too much. So several of the people have made lower ones, which are more appropriate, kind of in line, keeping with the cabin top, swept back.
I see.
And so that's the design I'm planning on.
Are you making your own, Josh?
No, I'm having a good local sailmaker do that. Yeah.
That Inger?
Yeah, Inger. Sure.
Okay,
yeah, she's the best. So we're going to go with her. She's got some fabric for me. We haven't had a chance to sit down and hash out all the details, but we're working on it.
Have you slept 2 in that boat yet?
No, haven't done 2, and it's perfectly perfectly reasonable to do two in there.
Yeah.
I don't have any filler boards for mine.
Oh, okay.
I haven't built those yet. The guys that did the Everglades Challenge, the Warlines, they had a nice setup. He had filler boards, just little slats cut, and he kept them on a pin and kind of held back at the transom, inside the transom, and so he would just roll them out and pop them in place, and they would have a double 6'6" berth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So it can certainly an easy enough thing to do.
Josh, have there been any tweaks in the last 6 months to? I know the basic design stayed the same, but as far as the plans go, doing anything differently, or ballast, or anything worth mentioning there?
No, I don't think so. We had updates. It seemed like the first year there, or maybe even 2 years, there were fairly significant updates that would happen. The whole, as you know, the hull shape and the rig has all stayed the same, but there have been some pretty significant things. I would say the last significant update or change was that so-called scamp ramp, with the mast
for the mast
slot.
The mast.
Yeah. And that does make it a little easier to raise the mast, although it's awfully easy without it. I was telling someone earlier, I think, raising the mast from the water, if you had to take your mast down afloat and re-hoist or re-raise the mast, that would be advantageous probably then to have that scamp ramp.
I see.
But yeah, short of that, or that's about the only thing I can think of that's been significant. Now we've kind of ironed it out.
How much ballast is going in the center board these days?
Oh, the board,
like 20 pounds?
Yeah, so it's roughly 20 pounds. I don't want to say for sure without looking at the number. I've got it written down. I don't know off the top of my head now. Yeah, we have played around with that. The idea being just enough and not too much. And Simeon Baldwin, who has Naughty here in town, he came up with an ingenious downhaul finally, or essentially to keep the board down.
Oh. And
we played with different methods. Do you lock the board down this way or that way? And the idea being the board stays down fine, but the idea being especially if you were to capsize the boat, would the board stay down?
Oh,
and
right.
But anyway, he came up with an ingenious way of doing it using some bungee cord inside the centerboard trunk, and done with some loops. And so we're looking forward to adding that to the builder's manual once we completely iron it out.
Yeah, I've heard his boat's going to go in the Smithsonian when he retires it.
That thing's a legend already.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's got everything.
Really tricked out nice.
Yeah. Did you see his VHF and his depth sounder and everything?
Yeah.
And he did a nice job.
He's got a depth sounder too?
I believe so, and he's got it all in a panel, one of the locker panels.
Yeah.
So it's a third panel that he can pull in or drop in.
Oh, really?
So if he's going to leave the boat sitting somewhere, he can take that panel completely out, put the other locker door on.
Oh, man.
No trouble.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, part of the reason I'm picking your brain here, as you know, is I bought a partially completed Scamp, which I hope to finish, and so finished that one last year and sold it and so on. But fun stuff.
Well, you've got your winter project.
I got my winter project.
Yeah,
definitely.
How far along? It's a basically to the camp level.
To the camp level, so it's planked, and that's about it.
Yeah,
planked all the bulkheads in and stuff.
Yeah,
and transom and forward and aft. So
that's a good head start.
Yeah, it is. I mean, figure it's at least 80 hours in, so only another 200 or 300 left.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow, it takes time to do it. But I'm excited. I'm going to sell my dory that I've had for a while, that I built, and just get down to one boat plus a canoe. So
that's a nice way to go. I've got two boats at the moment, not much longer, but having these guys some of these guys that have the 8 or 10 boats, I don't know how they do it. It drives me crazy knowing that one of my boats is rotting away or filling with water or hasn't been sailed. Or I just feel too guilty to do it. I can only own a boat, I think, one or two max.
Yeah. So Josh, you're also a co-publisher of Small Craft Advisor magazine along with Craig.
Right.
I forget Craig's last name.
Wagner. Craig Wagner. Mm-hmm.
Any updates on the magazine you'd like to share?
Magazine's going great. I'm trying to think of what's new and exciting. We've kind of got on autopilot in the sense that we produce similar, quality magazine, regular contributors now. Got a lot of exciting articles coming up, but that's sort of always the case, I think. I've always got something I'm excited to publish.
And you test a lot of small boats. And
we do. Every issue features a full-length boat review. Yeah. And we put a lot of time into that. We make sure we sail the boats ourselves. we also interview owners of the boats, so it's not just our casual one-day opinion of it. We ask people who've owned them for years.
Yeah.
So that's a feature in every magazine, and we don't only do fiberglass boats. If it's a fairly popular wooden kit boat or a production, it doesn't have to be a production boat. It can be a plans-built boat, even if there's enough of them out there. We review those as well.
Yeah.
And so we've got a few boats coming right up now. We're doing the Crotch Island Pinky. We're doing a Stone Horse. We're going to do the Nordica 16. And we're going to do Scamp actually at some point. It's as much as we've covered Scamp, we've actually had a lot of people ask us for, well, what about a normal review?
Oh, you haven't done one?
No, never have.
Really?
Well, it seems sort of a conflict of interest, of course, since we sell the plans. But
right.
I thought, I have plenty of things to tell. I can tell the world about Scamp that are compromises.
Yeah.
And that's all we ever do anyway. You talk about the various features. And
Yeah,
it's
there's
pretty
always
simple.
a compromise for
Sure.
one feature for another, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there'll be a Scamp, a full-length Scamp review here before too long.
Cool, that'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your magazine's bi-monthly.
That's right, 6 issues a year.
Yeah. And if people are interested in subscribing, where do they go for that?
Yeah, probably the best is the website at smallcraftadvisor.com.
Okay.
And you can subscribe there. We're also, a fairly recent addition is the digital magazine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we charge $29.95 a year for the print magazine. The digital is $24.95, so you save a few bucks. What happens with the digital is it's a trade-off, again, back to compromises. But what's kind of nice about the digital is you get a link in your mailbox or email box telling you it's ready. You can click on it, you can download it and save it as a PDF, so you can still archive your issues.
Oh.
You get them faster than anybody gets them because you're the digital subscribers are the first to see it.
Yeah.
And an additional thing we can do with the digital now is we can give you we put little external links and videos and things in there. So,
really?
like for example, recently we had an article on the Everglades Challenge, and in addition to as you're reading the article digitally, there's a little box up there with a video you can watch a clip.
I see.
So we're able to do some special features with the digital that we can't do with print.
Yeah.
But so both of those are going along well, and you can also call our 800 number at 800-979-1930, and you'll probably get me, and I can walk you through the process if you want to subscribe.
Okay, very cool. So, Josh, you just sailed in the Texas 200. So tell me first what that is exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not completely sure, and I don't know if my listeners are either, so tell us what it is.
So the Texas 200 is, it's not a race. That's the first thing to say, I guess.
Oh, okay.
People naturally, I think it's the name. It sounds like a race. It ought to be a race.
Yeah, it's like the Baja 500, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure that some people don't think it is a race that are there.
Yeah.
There's sort of a pecking order of who gets to each camp first.
I see.
So, but the truth is, it's not a race. I've been telling people that it's not so much how you finish; it's whether you finish at all, because it is a challenge. It's 200 miles, and it could be a pretty casual cruise, I suppose, in some of the bigger boats that were there. If you had crew and you have a 25-foot boat and you've got whatever, you have a sandwich and somebody else can take the helm for a while and you can take a nap.
Yeah.
But then there are other boats there. The smaller boats, it's pretty challenging because of the temperatures. It's hot. It was 97 degrees or thereabouts most of the trip.
Yeah.
The high heat index, and they get wind, and they really get wind, and they get wind day and night. It blows out of the southeast, and it just goes nonstop. It 3 or 4 in the morning, it'll finally mellow out and maybe drop back to 8 or 10 knots, and then by the time you get up in the morning, it starts going again, and then before long, the sea breeze is filled in, and some days we had in one day in particular, got up to 30 knots. I mean, just howling.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we, a group of us, 6 of us flew out or came in from different parts of the country. Were invited to borrow a loaner puddle duck, which is an 8-foot box of a boat, a plywood box.
And, a little curve to the bottom.
Yes, a little curve to the bottom. And we were invited to come in and sail these things. So we got in, most of us got in a day or two before the event, and we rigged the boats there the day before. And next thing you know, you're jumping in, and the wind's picking up. And the first day, I was out there with this fleet of these little. Well, there's a total of I think 12 or 13 of us that were in these little boats, but 6 of us that had these loaner boats. And within the first hour of the event, the winds were above 20 knots, and we were double reefed, and 4 of the 5 boats had their rudders rip off, and right out of the gate.
Rip out of the transom?
The pintles were screwed in place temporarily. They meant to go back and through bolt them, and there was no through bolts.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I remember looking at my rudder as I'm thinking to myself, I'm in the, I'm flying along by myself now.
It's held in with the drywall.
Yeah, basically, and I'm holding the rudder, thinking, well, the good news about this is I'm one of 6 boats that have this set up, and there's going to be 5 other boats just like me soon, so we're all going to have to deal with this together. And that's really what it turned out. We ended up, and the funny thing is, we're going downwind, so we ended up going many more miles, really, with no working rudders. We tied a couple of our puddle ducks together, and we have rafted up, and we just blew downwind and finally hit a beach. And the crew of people there are just incredible. The group of sailors, they're very. They make the point before the event starts that you have to be self-sufficient. There's no chase boats on the Texas 200. There are very few bailout points. You're in very rural country, very southern Texas, in the Laguna Madre. There's not a lot there.
Is that part of the intercoastal water?
It is. Yeah. Okay. And sections of it, you'd go way out of it because you go into these shallow bays. That would mean these endless shallow bays. But you are oftentimes part of the intracoastal. But a very resourceful group. We hit the beach with these 5 broken ducks, and other boats came up, bigger boats and different boats, and people were pulling out amazing power tools, Makita stuff with battery packs and hardware, and we just put them all together, through-bolted all the rudders. Within probably 45 minutes, we were back on the water. It really spoke to the kind of people that are out there.
So those were the participants in the race?
Yeah, participants. Yeah. And it was 60, or I guess around 60 boats started the event, 60 sailboats. One guy was rowing. He tried to row the whole thing. I think he made it 3 days. It was tough as nails, but at some point he dropped. But I think we ended up finishing like 43 boats finish.
Yeah.
So 25% or something they tell me will drop usually because of one reason or another. But the crazy thing was, it was really a brilliant sailing ground. It was hot, miserable, but it was also shallow, warm water, 86-degree water, and tons of wind. So in a way, it was a sailing paradise.
Yeah, right.
I mean, where else are you going to sail for 7 hours on one tack with 86-degree water in the sun and be around all these other sailboats? It was really kind of amazing. Depending on your outlook. Unique. Yeah.
That's salt water. You're in salt water.
Yeah. It's in fact, extreme salt water, because it's got high salinity, because it's kind of almost doesn't flush very often, so it builds up a lot of salt content.
Okay, so 60 boats started, 43 finished.
Yeah.
200 miles. How many days, Josh?
5 days. The longest day we had was a little over 50-mile day, which is not a bad day. As you know, sailing, you can push and make a 50-mile day, but when you're doing it in an 8-foot boat, when you're making 3 knots, 3.5 knots.
Oh, is that what you're...
Yeah. We ended up, I think on that day, we got lucky with a lot of wind. I think we pushed maybe over 4 knots, but it was, as I recall, it was a 14-hour day without leaving the helm. And that was long.
Can you keep a few supplies in the boat with you?
We had to carry everything we needed for 5 days on that puddle duck.
You did?
Yeah. The only thing...
overnight?
Yeah, we slept in the boats, or we slept on the dirt, and you really rough it.
But, man, Josh.
But we had, fortunately, some of the bigger boats would carry extra water, because the only thing we couldn't fit, amazingly, in that 8-foot boat, you could actually provision yourself for 5 days. The only thing we fell short on was water, and some of the bigger boats would carry additional. So when we were at camps, we would all meet. The way the Texas 200 works is every night of those 5-day, 4-night event, you have a particular location you're shooting for, usually a very remote, kind of rugged campsite.
Yeah. So the bulkheads on those boats are accessible? You have hatches in them or something?
Yeah,
you can store stuff?
Yeah, you can build them, I guess, a number of ways. There's a lot of iterations of that puddle deck, but outside of the square shape and the little curve. But the way this one worked is it had fore and aft tanks, and so you had access ports that you could go in there. The problem with that was these boats were, they were made quickly and for the purpose of loaning them out, and there was no bulkhead dividers or separation there. So my concern was putting too much into those tanks. You wouldn't have access if it rolled forward or shifted aft. So in the end, what we ended up doing was almost everything went underneath the foredeck. Just an open space under the foredeck where the mast steps through. There's a tube, a little PVC step, and then we had a little net behind us on a tiny little aft deck, and we kept some of the extra stuff there. The problem with keeping all the weight under the foredeck, of course, is you had all the weight forward. Yeah. And what the puddle duck will do, and I can here to tell you in 25 knots with a following sea, what it'll do is that no matter you're too reefed and everything else, it wants to bury that bow into the wave in front of you. Yeah. And they call it pig rooting. And it's a Texas 200 puddle duck vernacular. They call it pig rooting, but that bow just wants to dig into the wave in front of you. So what happens is you're sailing along and you feel this surge. The bow goes in, the waves you get green water over the top, and the bow starts to sink on you, and you feel like you're going to bury the boat for sure. So you get all your weight as far out aft as you can, and you're hanging off that aft deck, and then it'll finally pop loose, and then you're off again. I mean, it's...
so you have to keep doing that?
Yeah, hair-raising at times.
You must have been a little tired at the end of some of those days.
Second day in, in fact, I'm writing an article about it for the next issue, but second day in, I was I wasn't going to quit. I just was not going to, but I really thought on that second day, I thought, if there wasn't a reason to quit, if I could get any excuse now, I would definitely drop. This is not fun at all. I mean, it was truly miserable. But you settle in, and then third day, and it beats it out of you, and finally by 3 or 4 days into this thing, you're just sailing endlessly, and you're thinking, this is all right. This is kind of fun. And
so, do they limit boat size on that, or what do they do, Josh?
No rules that I'm aware of, but they do. You are sort of limited. You're certainly limited by draft.
Okay.
If you want to sail nothing but intracoastal and stay right in the center of that channel, which is pretty narrow. Actually, I was surprised at the intracoastal waterway there. There's not a lot of width. You got a lane both directions, and that's it. And you've got quite a bit of commercial traffic in sections.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to limit yourself to that, I suppose you could take a fairly deep draft boat. But the reality of the Texas 200 is the fun of the whole thing is hitting all these beaches and sliding up in these shallow cut-throughs. They have bayous and cut-throughs and dugouts, they call them, and different channels, and that's where you need a boat with preferably with a lee board or a centerboard.
I see.
Yeah. I thought Scamp would have done great because flat bottom, centerboard offset, but it would have kicked up, rudder would have kicked up, so I could have gone just about anywhere with that.
So there weren't any Scamps in the race?
It wasn't this time, no.
Has there been before?
Yeah, I know a Scamp did it a few years ago, and apparently it fit real well, and I can see why. Now Jim McCallick's designs are just all over the place there.
Oh, because they're shallow draft, plywood boats.
Yeah, plywood boats that you can build quickly, lee board.
Yeah.
They also tend to have, it seems the ones that were there tend to have pram bows are pretty full boats, so I think that helps with their off the wind, because this thing is mostly downwind, and so I think it keeps you from broaching a bit, having that fullness at the bow.
Yeah.
And they all had good stowage, get all your gear aboard. So it's real simple boats, but you look around, you see, man, there's a lot of Jim McCallick designs here.
Yeah. Was Chuck in this race?
He was, yeah. Chuck is the man who invited me out.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Set it all up. So yeah.
What was he racing?
He was in a puddle duck.
Oh, he was it?
Yeah. Chuck called. We've been talking for years about doing this. He's invited me, and he said. So this year, I said, I'm going to come this year. I'm going to do it. And he said, okay, great. And he said, what boat should we take? And I said, I don't know. What do you have? And he said, well, I've got this boat and I've got that boat. And he named a few. And then he said, I hesitate to bring this up. But he said, they're talking about doing them in the ducks again this year. A bunch of people want to try to do it in a duck. And he said, I suppose we could do that. So I think he regrets that decision.
So he was in a duck too?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, no, we laughed about it and just decided, if we're going to do it, I said if I'm going to do it, and I may not do it again, I don't know. Now I think I probably will, but I thought if I'm going to do my first Texas 200 and experience it, I might as well experience it 100%.
Yeah, right.
So that was
sitting right on the water.
Right on the water.
In a box.
Yep.
Fun. So that was last month, Josh? Or?
Yeah, June.
June. Okay.
Yeah, June.
I guess that was last month.
Yeah.
Very cool. So maybe you'll take your Scamp down. That's a long drive, though.
It's the drive. It's the drive that's tough, but I can see it happening. I've talked to a few people with Scamps now that have said they'd like to maybe go out and do it. And I thought if you get a whole fleet of a boat, of boats together. One thing I'll say from my experience there was that I don't think doing it by yourself, that event, doing it by yourself or doing it in a particularly big boat would be such a great thing, because the camaraderie and the sharing of experience with the group of duckers was, and the other contestants, or whatever you want to call them, entrants, was the best part.
So, and the ducks are single-handed boats.
Yes. Yeah.
How many ducks were out of the 60 boats? How many were
I think we had a total of 13 that were puddle ducks, and amazingly everybody finished. We kind of had a team mentality too. If somebody needed something, we'd help drag the boat out. We ended up having to walk at one point down a channel and walk for like 3/4 of a mile, about waist deep water, towing our boats and everything. I mean, we had all kinds of experiences, but we kind of stuck together.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So what's the time difference between first finisher and last? Is there much, or?
No, a few hours really, because each day was limited. Like the last day was maybe a 20, 25, 30 mile day. Yeah. So what would happen with the puddle duckers and especially any of the guys in real small boats is we would head out crack of dawn. So when the sun, sometimes just when the sun was coming up, we were hitting the water. So we had the longest days on the water, but we would usually get there, at a reasonable hour too.
Yeah.
We'd be the first ones off, last ones in every time.
So how did you know where you were going, Josh?
Well, we had a couple of locals like Chuck who had, kind of lead the
territory.
way. Yeah, and we
had
had
navigation charts. And stuff?
Yeah, we brought charts. You know how it is trying to use charts on an 8-foot boat.
Oh, geez,
so you try to
disaster.
Yeah, my routine was to try to arm myself with knowledge the night before.
Yeah,
get an idea where we're going, try to visualize where I've never seen the territory I was on, but try to visualize with the charts. And then I had a GPS, and that served me a few times.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There was several guys that had no GPS. A few people's radios broke, so we would have at times several sailors out there, 8-foot boat, no GPS, no radio. So it was interesting.
Did you have a radio?
I did.
Carry a VHF, two-way
VHF.
radio.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it sounds fun, Josh. So, anything else you'd like to add to the podcast today?
No, I don't know. I thank you for coming out to the Palooza again. That was great to see you.
Yeah, very good. Well, best to you, Josh, and we'll be talking again soon.
I know it.
All right, thanks for your time.
Tom.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Josh, thanks for hooking up for the interview at the I think we were at the Port Townsend Pocket Yacht Palooza, the 3rd annual this summer when we had this discussion. So thanks so much. The Scamp is an amazing boat. There's a lot more of them out there. Even at the festival this year, I saw quite a few more. In fact, there were 2 sailing side by side. If you go to my Facebook page, Wooden Boat Dan, you can see photos of the festival there. It was a great time. So thanks for doing that, Josh. Okay, you can connect with me by email, woodenboatdan@gmail.com, or you can find Wooden Boat Dan on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube. You can connect with me there, and you can also leave a voice message on my website. There's a little button you can click on the right-hand side, lets you leave a 90-second message from your computer or your phone. I'd love to get your feedback and your input. Please let me know about projects you're working on and fun things that are happening. The winter kind of slows down here. My enthusiasm level drops a little bit, although it's a great time to be working on projects, so I hope to get started here soon. I think I said that last week, didn't I? Oh, well. I will, but not this week because I'm going out of town. Anyway, have a great week. Keep the bright side up and the barnacled side down. Wooden Boat Dan over and out. God bless.